The Film Crickets are intended for mature audiences. Any guests on the Film Crickets do not necessarily share the same opinions as the Film Crickets.
Film Crickets, chirping about movies.
It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier, Chris Martineau, and Melanie Howerton. On this week's episode, Jay, Chris, and Melanie review the 1987 American psychological thriller film, Fatal Attraction. Does it stand the test of time?
Can't say yet. I haven't made up my mind.
At least you're very honest.
Let's find out your Film Crickets are on now.
Hey friends, welcome to the Film Crickets. My name is Jay Fortier. I'm along with my good friend and co-host, Chris Martineau. How you doing, man?
Hello, Jason. What's happening?
Hey, doing all right. And also with my good friend and co-host, Melanie Howerton. How you doing, Melanie?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Mel in the house. Mel. All right, sorry.
I need a Melanie.
Melanie.
I used to do that. Years ago, I used to do that for that song Remedy from the Black Crowes.
I remember you doing that.
I want a Melanie. I used to have fun.
That's cool.
And it made her laugh. And so today we are doing a movie that takes 2 hours and tortures you the entire time. It is called Fatal Attraction. I sat there, I went, 2 hours. And I was like about a half hour in. Shit. I got another hour and a half of this misery. Like it's just uncomfortable.
Quick, don't you think?
No. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. It's just straight discomfort. Yep. I am uncomfortable the entire time. It's like
pretty much. Mm-hmm. What's our history with Fatal Attraction? 87, you said? I didn't catch the date. I'm looking at it right now. 87. Yeah. So I'm not seeing this in theaters. So I probably saw it on video after. So what's our history with Fatal Attraction? Is this something that we haven't seen in a while? Like what's our deal, Jay? What's your deal with Fatal Attraction?
I saw it on video, I guess, back in the day. I can't specifically say it was in 88. It might have been. Okay. They weren't really, cracking down, and saying, you're 16, you can't see it.
Yeah.
You're 17. On video, they were just letting people, unless it was NC-17, there was no NC-17 back then. But I'm saying you couldn't rent something from the back room.
Yes, with the curtain. Yes. Yes.
Anyways, or the book. We had one in our
book,
town with a book. Okay, so Fatal Attraction. I saw it back in the day. I can't say when. I think I re-rented it years later because it said special edition with the alternate ending. I was like, this should be fun. And I haven't seen it since just because, like I said last night, it makes me very uncomfortable to watch this.
Yep, sure. Okay. Mel? What's your deal?
I don't know if I watched it on HBO or I rented it. I'm thinking I rented it because when Jay brought up the alternate ending, I didn't sound familiar to me, but when he showed it to me today, and plus I had read about it after he was talking to me about it, it looked familiar. Like I remember them sweeping the leaves, burning them and stuff. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I saw it. Maybe I must have rented it then. Maybe I saw it on something like that.
Okay.
But I hadn't seen it in a long time. It's not something that I have. I don't own it. And I had was looking for something to watch while I was working out.
Oh my God. Well, that's right. I remember this story. Okay.
Yeah,
this is recent.
I have to watch something while I work out. I just don't want to work out. It's so boring to me.
Sure.
So I'm like looking through everything and I'm like, okay, I haven't seen that in a while. I'll just watch that. And then that's when I was like, we should do this. And then when you guys said you wanted to do it, I watched it again because I wasn't watching it as a movie to, you know what I mean, to pay attention to do the podcast with. So I rewatched it and I finished the ending today. So
okay, and so you rewatched it and you haven't seen it in a while, and because it had kind of it definitely an 80s movie. There's no doubt about that. And it's something I want to definitely get to after. All right, so I definitely saw this on VHS. I don't remember where. I don't know if it was a pirated special. I want to say it was. It probably was right up my grandmother's alley. Probably, right? Because, the weird psycho, with Psycho Woman Glenn Close in it. I haven't seen it since probably, and maybe saw it once. But I will tell you that as I am an aficionado of horror movie documentaries more than watching horror movies, like any countdown show, any, scariest moments thing, I am on board. I'll just watch it just kind of as background, much like you watch Halloween. And this always comes up as one of the scariest movies. it's just like Jaws is scary. Jaws isn't that scary, but it's got these terrifying moments, right? And this movie does have some terrifying moments. If you look at the description on IMDb, or when I was looking at Wikipedia, they don't even call it a horror movie. They call it a psychological thriller, which I think is probably more appropriate than a horror movie. However, I do have something to say about that. So, not in high rotation. I think someone that watches this movie a lot should be examined. As a person, no shade, just saying. Maybe you've got some other inner issues you need to work out. And but let's get into the movie proper. A Fatal Attraction came out in 1987, rated R, coming in an hour and 59 minutes. The one sentence breakdown is: a married man's one night stand, not true, comes back to haunt him, yes, when that lover begins to stalk him and his family. Directed by Adrian Lyne, written by James Dearden, starring Michael Douglas, Glenn Close, Ann Archer, Ellen Latson, Stuart Pankin, Fred Gwynn for a hot minute, Ellen Foley, and other people. I want to talk about Adrian Lyne real quick because he's a horny boy. He did Flashdance, 9.5 Weeks, Fatal Attraction, Jacob's Ladder, which is a horror movie, but it has a lot of sex in it, Indecent Proposal, Lolita, and Unfaithful. Jeez. I don't know what his deal is. Like, if we need somebody to direct some hot scenes, we're going to get Adrian Lyne. I don't know what his deal was, and then he stopped making movies. I think he's still alive, but it seems as though that was his track record to make these. Not saying they're bad movies. I haven't seen all of them. Certainly, the reputation is kind of these hot films, right, with these sex scenes in it. And this movie pretty much gets right to it with said sex scene. Indicative of the 80s, we have on-screen hot moments in an elevator, all that stuff. They kind of get that out of the way, which I think is interesting. What?
They did an elevator?
In her house. Yeah, she had that, like, the old construction type elevator that's in old building. Like,
I just don't remember them doing it.
Building.
They were in
between.
There
was somebody walking by at the time when they were in it, and he kind of tried to duck a little bit.
There were two comic moments involving the hooking up. One was they're on he mounts her on the sink, and his pants fall down, and he has to hop away, which I guess is supposed to be funny.
That was his idea.
Yeah, and then another was all right, and then another moment.
He wanted a funny moment.
Well, he got another one when the guy's walking by and she's doing things to him in the elevator, and the elevator's stuck, and he's trying to like pretend like trying to make like it's not happening. All right, so let's talk about this movie.
It's when they got back from dancing.
Right, and yes, after, which is cuckoo, because we're gonna get to that in a moment. Can we just say that we have a movie about a psychopath? Obviously, she's got some deep-seated issues, Glenn Close, in this movie. No doubt about it. This is not just a jilted lover situation. She's got problems. However, she is a psychopath, but he's a sociopath. He is not a nice person at all. Does anyone... Jay, I know how you feel about this, but do we ever actually have a lot of sympathy for Mike Douglas? I mean, we know that it's gone over the top with her stalking him, but I have a hard time feeling bad for Mike. Anybody?
I think
no, you feel bad for his family, not her.
Absolutely, I'll give you that.
I don't feel bad for her either. Yep. I feel bad for him, and I want to really go into the whole mental illness thing with her.
Okay.
And I have a lot to say about that and how Glenn Close felt about it. But no, I don't feel bad for either one of them. It's her. I don't know. We'll go into that after. But you feel really bad for the wife and kid.
Yeah,
of course. First and foremost, them.
Mm-hmm.
I do eventually start to sympathize a little because at the end, like I think by the end he suffered enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's constantly going back to her. He's been trying to break it off. You know, like, is he wrong? Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think by the end, when he's moving to the country, he's trying to redeem himself. He's trying to get away from the nutbag. So I think by then I'm feeling bad, but I know I'm very sensitive, I guess. Nutbag. Well, but she is a nutbag. But anyways.
Well, I hate her in it. I don't care what you call her.
No, she's terrible. Yeah, I'm not the actress, but the character.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But I'm saying I do pity him later because I just think he's trying. Like, I don't think he's like remaining a douche throughout the whole thing. But boy, did he just like quickly give it up. Like, I have to walk the dog. Oh, my daughter's sleeping between them. I guess, I guess that's my free pass to go somewhere.
And that's that's kind of my point, is that we're looking at boo-hoo, Dan, boo-hoo. Like, you're a rich lawyer with a sweet family who comes back from a party and doesn't get any because the daughter sleeps in the bed because the daughter is scared or whatever, had a nightmare or whatever. So, I'm so sorry. Like, you're rich and you're yuppies, and it's not like they're suffering. It's not like they had a broken marriage. No. And that's, I guess, and we'll get to why, if or not this movie holds up later, but all she has to say is when they're at the party and we first meet Glenn Close, is the only one in white, by the way.
She's always in white.
She wears in black once, but she's in white a lot.
Yeah. And she's always in white. Her house is in white. Her phone's in white. Her bike is in white. Her blanket's in white. Everything in her house is whitewashed. Yeah. Right.
So she's in that. We meet her at first, and I only got the sensation of, in that first meeting with the first party, where they're all like, "Oh yeah, woe is me." Dan has to go to these lavish, these uppity yuppity parties. Like, oh, your life sucks so much. But he's at the party and everybody's packed in like sardines, and here comes Glenn Close, almost as a white shark. She is trolling, right? She is looking for people that she can pounce on. I think she definitely takes advantage of his quote unquote niceness.
I want to say the party.
No doubt about that. But when he does not say, like, when he meets her at the bar and they're having their idle chit chat, and he says his wife comes in, like, he's not like, "Oh, hi, honey." He just kind of like brushes off, like, "Yeah, there's my wife." So he doesn't really make it very known, or doesn't mind. He doesn't make it very obvious that he's in a happy marriage with this person that's next to him. It's a single woman. Like, you kind of let off feelers like, "Hey, I'm with somebody here." He just kind of like downplays the fact that he's here with his wife. And then later on, when they meet and they have their drinks together, like, he doesn't, "Hey, you're caught in the rain. You know what we should do? We should go get drinks together because my wife's away." Like, it's very hard to sympathize without, like, what are you actually trying to say? And all he has to say, eventually they get into, first of all, you're lighting another woman's cigarette, which is bizarre. That's way too flirty. Again, I'm not passing judgment, but are we supposed to feel bad for him? Because I really kind of don't. And for those moments, because he's not, like, he's got his happy marriage, and all she has to say is, "I'm discreet." "Are you discreet?" Right. "Yes, I'm discreet." Next thing you know, sex happens. So it's he's going into, well, that guy argument of, if no one ever found out, would you still do it? And Dan's answer is yes. As far as he's concerned, no one's gonna find out, because she says she's discreet, he's discreet. We're just looking to hook up. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to feel bad for that, because when things start to fall, and like when things start to fall apart, it's like, well, and he went out in public to walk the dog. Like, what is happening? Anyway, I'm sorry, I'll get off of my rant. It's just very hard from the start. Adrian Lynn doesn't make like he needed a lot of convincing, I guess, is my long story short on that. Mm-hmm. Right? He doesn't need a lot of convincing to take that step, which is like, well...
At first, I thought at the party, and first, let me say, by the way, when Glenn Close gives like the dagger look to his friend, first I want to say, like, I watched that twice. All he said, I rewound it to see what he said. All he said was, "Hey there," or something, or just smiled or something. He didn't do like nothing. He didn't do anything to her. Yeah. And all of a sudden, she gives him this dirty look, like he went up and grabbed the back of her ass or something. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like. Yeah. Horrible, and it, like, for no reason whatsoever. And then, of course, that's his opening to, "Oh, was it that bad? Oh, I just can't stand it when guys think that he just come on like that. Come on." He was in the middle of a conversation. He turned around and said, "Hey," big deal. But anyway, so when he was sitting at the bar, I kind of felt like, he was kind of like smiling at her, like you could tell he thought she was attractive, but I didn't think he was flirting too much with her, to be honest with you, because I thought immediately he just kind of just barely their small talk, and immediately when she kind of waved at him, he's like, "Okay, I gotta go." She's like, "Is that your wife?" And he was like, "Yeah," like it didn't seem like he was trying to lead her on in any way at that time to me. It was more like just, he was very honest. Like, this is my wife. I have a family. I got to go. He talked to her for 5 seconds. I got to go. But I feel like she was after him the whole time. Like, not only that, but then when they met at work and the eyeballs, she kept giving him the entire time and then helping with the umbrella. But then, of course, when he's like, you want to go for a drink? It's like, really?
Yeah.
And then when they're talking about being discreet, the line where he was like, he said something like, he asked her something and she goes, well, I haven't decided yet. And because he says, oh, that would be entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you. That depends on you or whatever. He's like, so you're telling her right then and there, like, I'm okay with cheating on my wife, but it's going to be all your decision on whether this whole thing takes place.
Right.
And then she was like, I haven't decided yet. Next thing you know, they're in in her apartment. But like, we're both adults, blah, 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 blah. Like, she knows he's married. He knows he's married just because they're adults. And it kind of seemed to me like they had this mutual agreement, like, it's not going to go any further than this. We're just going to have this one night stand. We're going to have sex, because we're both assholes, but we're going to go have sex. And it's not going to go any further than that. I mean, like, the fact that she would think for 2 seconds that, first of all, he's an ass. He should have lost his entire family just because of what he did. But on her part, she thinks that he's, gonna just leave somebody that he's been with for years and years and years, and has a child with, and he has a whole family just because they had sex one time. She just seems like she's very much entitled throughout this whole thing, even when she's like, oh, you thought you were just gonna walk into my life and turn it upside down. She was just as much of an adult as he was, and she knew that he was married. So I hate him for doing this to his family, and he's an asshole, and he deserves to lose his family over it. But at the same time, she knew exactly what she was getting into when she walked into any situation. She knew exactly what she was getting into. So not only do I not have any sympathy for her whatsoever, as the movie goes on, you can see that she's a complete psychopath. And I could care less if she's mentally ill or not and needs some freaking help. And I'll go into that later on, because Glenn Close said that she never looked at her like she was a villain, ever. That she just looked at her like she was mentally unstable. And that, if this movie was made, I'll go into it now. If this movie was made nowadays, she would have to redo the whole role and how she was thinking even more so, and that everybody now would think about this poor woman in a way where she's mentally ill. The whole movie, you could care less if she's mentally ill or not. Like, do you have any forensic file things that I've seen where this guy is like this crazy asshole who's stalking people or stalking an ex-girlfriend, and then their ex-girlfriend ends up dead because no one does anything about it? Right. Are you going to have sympathy towards that asshole because he's mentally ill? I don't give a shit if he's mentally ill. Yeah. She kidnaps a kid just to prove that she could. She boils a rabbit to destroy this poor little girl's life, and just to prove that she could, she destroys his car just to prove that she could. It's like, I don't have any sympathy for her. I don't care how bananas she is. Yeah. You want her to get everything that she has coming to her, and you can't wait for it.
I think it's, with everything you're saying, I think it's a reason, it's not an excuse. I'm a big fan of that statement, right? Yeah. Oh, it's a reason, but that's not an excuse for the behavior. And it dovetails into whether or not it holds up. I think what the movie tries to do is we see that it always is escalating with this character. So she starts out what we think is innocent enough, but really she is a desperately, she's got psychological issues where she needs to be with someone, right? And so she will manipulate that person as much as possible so that they will be with her. And that makes her very unstable, because sometimes she hates him, sometimes she loves him. It's very hard to see where we're coming from.
And she was manipulating just through that whole suicide attempt. I don't believe for 1 minute at all that she was really trying to commit suicide, because, I mean, he literally said, I mean, she's very like a planner, she knew he was going to leave, and he had just given that speech how terrified he was in Madame Butterfly that the woman was going to commit suicide. She did that on purpose to make him stay with her. It wasn't like she was really going to do it at that moment. Like, I think everything she did throughout this whole movie was planned out. Even though I feel bad in a couple minutes where she's just sitting at home by herself and she's crying, and obviously she cares about him a lot. She is mentally ill. We get that. But at the same time, I keep saying, if the roles were reversed and that was a man doing this to a woman, you would not have any feelings for that guy. You would not think for a minute like, oh, that poor kid needs to get help. You'd be like, that kid needs to be locked away before he kills her. And like I said, I literally just watched something not that long ago where a girl was murdered, and it was a stalker that was stalking her, and she kind of tried to get help and nobody would help her. Well, have they done anything yet? It's like, it happens all the time, and the next thing you know, the person's dead. She was dangerous, and I love everything that happened to her at the end, and that's the ending that I would want. 100%. Like,
I think what the movie does is it takes her mental illness, and then because it keeps getting, because she is planned, because she is testing how much he actually cares as a person, because somewhere in there's a heart. Even though we don't like Dan, somewhere in there he's not, he's a jackass, but he's not a scumbag.
Yeah.
It's hard to distinguish because he is a scumbag. But I think I know what you're getting at. Like, he's not just some schmuck at a bar, right? And he's able to actually...
He made a mistake.
He made a mistake,
and I
right?
think eventually he realizes that and wants to hold
And he
on
does
to
a lot of things to avoid owning up to that mistake until he has no choice but to own up to the mistake,
right.
Which is hard to do. I think everybody tries to avoid trouble, and he does it as much as possible until eventually it is unavoidable. And I mean trouble with his immediate family, knowing the stakes that are involved. But I think what we do with this movie is, and why it's sometimes considered a horror movie, is because her psychosis is at first a psychological thriller. Then by the end, it's almost a straight slasher. Those last scenes in the movie where he locks the doors of the house, but she's already inside the house, and then starts coming after him like Psycho with a knife, and then pops out of the tub. Sorry, spoiler alert. And if you listen to the soundtrack sounds like Friday the 13th in those last... It's synthy, and it's like jump scary a little bit. And so it changes the tone. It's almost like it's trying to be a stalker movie, a slasher movie at the end, which it's not.
The last minute, she's drowned. No, she's not. Like, that last pop-up scream.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I saw her with her eyes open. and her bubbles coming out of her mouth, but
by the way, when she was under the water being drowned, like it seemed like her eyes turned to like fog, like at one point, it was
because I think what they were trying to do, and I have that in here, but I noticed that because I was like, that is some bad special effects right there. They looked like, I guess they were trying to look like she was being choked, that she was gonna kind of put her eyeballs up, and you see the whites of her eyes on the bottom. Yeah. That's what it was supposed to look like, but. I have it somewhere in here, but I guess the person that right here, director Adrian Lynn stated in 2002 that he regrets filming the shot of Alex submerged in the bathtub because of the cosmetic contact lenses. He thought that was too over the top. So did I. They looked really bad.
Okay. Fair enough.
I want to say, every time you guys say the sex, like on the countertop, I start making faces. If anybody's watching, like on YouTube or on Spotify, we have video as well. I found it to be gross. Like, I think even back when I was like 16 years old, like when she's on the counter and she's reaching behind her and filling up her hands with the water from the sink.
Yeah.
It was so nasty. I was like, what the hell is this?
I didn't like it either. It was uncomfortable, and it would be uncomfortable to watch with someone else for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. 100%. It's a little too much, and back in the 80s and early 90s, like these were all over movies. Like these scenes were all over them, and they're not Basic as prevalent instinct. Anymore. Yeah. Sliver, like they're all over the place, and I don't necessarily, I don't mean to sound like a prude, but you could get away with them.
That wacky.
Yeah, Joe, Jesus Christ, Jade. Wow.
I think they were going for the shock factor back then, and and then like Jay was saying before that Mike, and it was true. It was like, I bet you Michael Douglas has been in more sex scene movies than probably anybody.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that man's naked butt.
Yeah.
More times than I care to talk about.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have sex with Michael Douglas. I don't know why. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
but
so like, listen, we've covered a lot of like, her psychosis and like, her mental. Now, I want to skip ahead a little bit. Like, I mean, there's some really great like horror moments. Like even just a phone ringing is great. Yeah. Like, they're in the country, and he's trying to move in, and the phone's ringing, and he's like, like
Yeah.
that's cool. Like they really get you there to thinking it's her.
Can I interrupt 1 second? It's just going to be real quick. It was just something I thought was funny. I'll get your point because you brought up phones. There's one point where she's really mad on the phone, and she goes to dial a number, and all she does is match the phone with her hand. Did you notice that? She doesn't even hit buttons. It's like off screen, but she just matches her phone with her hand. Like, what are you doing? Like,
She's trying
I just
to
thought of
obtain
that
a special
Simpsons episode
dialing wand.
when he had the fat fingers.
Yeah. That's what I just say. Like he goes, the fingers you choose to dial are too fat. It says, please, to obtain a special dialing wand, please mash the keys or scream really loudly into the phone.
Yeah.
That's
But
funny.
anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, wait, and I want to say something too because sorry. And what the hell? What kind of school lets a little kid go home with a complete stranger?
Yeah.
And I mean,
That's where I'm heading.
Complete stranger. This kid has never
That's where
even
I'm heading.
seen this woman before.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay,
not even
let's
like it
get
was like an
mad.
acquaintance.
Okay,
Let's
first
get mad.
off, let's not get mad at the school. Let's get mad at the writer because the writer gave us nothing. They gave us nothing of why did nobody recognize the woman? Like oh, we thought you picked her up already. Why? They don't even semi look alike. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought his wife was a lot prettier. Right. Right. So I'm
Yes.
like downgrade.
No, and I thought the same
downgrade.
thing. The very first time I remember that when I watched this for the first time, I kept thinking, is he crazy? Because his wife is gorgeous. Her face is gorgeous. Her hair is gorgeous. Her body is gorgeous. She's wicked sweet. She's just the perfect wife. And he goes and tries to, and I hate how he says later on, oh, the last thing I ever wanted to do was hurt you. Well, maybe you should have thought of that first, asshole.
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
were in the restaurant and just letting it just be up to her whether he has an affair or not. You know what I mean? Like, that was
but
horrible.
let's be mad at the writer because he didn't explain how anybody seemed to not recognize the woman. It's like, oh, we thought you picked her up already, huh? Like they just let her go with this woman. Nobody, says anything about that. Like they don't revisit it.
But why would Ellen even
they
go? Like
go-
you said, like she doesn't know her.
Right.
Right, and they go to an amusement park in the winter. All right, they're like frozen, like they're the only ones on the roller coaster. I think. Right, I don't see anybody else.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so I also want to say that yes, she goes and drops her off because it's sort of like a cat playing with a mouse. I'm going to release you for a little while and then screw with you a little more. So she's not out to kill the daughter. She's trying to scare everybody and freak everybody out. She drops
She
the
wants to
daughter
prove
off.
that she can do it. That's what she's doing.
But my question is, she says, "Can I have a kiss?" All right, and she gives her a kiss. Doesn't say anything. Now I'm not mad at the 6-year-old. I'm mad at the writers for not saying, like say. Bye, auntie, whatever her name is, or like something. Like, because the girl has never met this lady in her life. How is she meeting her for the first time, going to an amusement park, and not thinking anything of it? I know she's only 6, but at least give us something. Say,
or can we be mad at the parents for not training a kid that you shouldn't get into a car with a perfect stranger?
whatever.
And they're
but
from New York City,
give
so
us
so
something.
definitely you're used to that shit.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
okay.
give us something. Why did we not hear? She just kissed her and got out. And what I'm saying is the writers should have said, "Bye, Auntie Alex." Whatever. Like something, like some reason she knows her for the moment. Because she just, like a stranger, took her to an amusement park and the kid was perfectly happy. So, like, why? Just give us a little something. No. They just
It's
make
a
us
bit of
sit
a-
there.
It is a bit of a stretch to think a 6-year-old isn't going to do a little pushback. A little like,
Or at
wait,
least,
who are you?
Act like, like I guess her name is whatever. But it's weird, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. No deal. No dice.
And then, obviously the wife, gets into the car accident.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the rabbit
Understandable.
thing?
Do
We didn't talk
I
about
have
the
stuff
rabbit.
about the rabbit? What'd you say?
Oh, no, but just discuss the rabbit scene real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm I said it before the show, before we started recording. I'm really psyched that they decided not to have the little girl in the same room when the boiling pot was on, and they found the rabbit in there. She only screamed from the hutch saying it's missing.
Right.
Because like the actress probably would have had a tough time looking at a dead rabbit, even if it's not really dead. It's a 6-year-old or like a little kid, regardless.
Yeah.
But that's really like when you're like, okay, this lady needs to go.
Yeah.
So she already needed to go, but that was like the straw, the major straw.
Psycho. Yeah. After she says, "I love animals."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm a good cook.
There is a lot of what's the word, foreshadowing in this movie. The knife, it comes up a lot. The pots and pans come up a lot. The cooking comes up a lot. So it's clever. I mean, it's definitely, except for some of that writing, like you just said, Jay, the ridiculousness of that last scene. It is put together, not the last scene, but the scene with the girl going with Glenn close to the. I think it's the whole idea of that is kind of silly, but it's definitely put together so that you are on board for the uncomfortable ride. Like, there's no way around it, and it definitely builds whether or not you like Dan and Glenn Close, which I didn't. That doesn't matter. Some of you guys, and this is a sincere question, and I'm sorry if I didn't pick it up when I was watching it. And I didn't want to rewatch it because it's already uncomfortable to watch. Was she actually pregnant?
They said she was because he called the doctor because he had said, like, to the lawyer, his friend, the other lawyer, he's like,
congratulations.
Yeah. And then
all right.
he tried to go to the house to see if there was anything. But you know what, too? Like, can we go over the part where she had, like, thought that he had a heart attack and she comes running up to him on the lawn?
Yes.
And then she's like, my father died of a heart attack. And then when he was like, oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart, or honey, or whatever. Why did she just lie and be like, ah, ha, 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 like, I was joking, you know? And he was looking at her like she was crazy at that point until he kind of looked later on into her little scrapbook and saw that her dad really did die. You know what I mean?
Just
like,
to manipulate, just to keep
Yeah,
going.
she's manipulating him. She
likes,
wants to see if he actually
the cat
cares.
and the mouse, like, pull, like, you know,
Yep.
go away, pull.
Because
like
he already is taking a giant risk going outside in a public place.
The park where
and
they
having
probably
his
go.
Little family day
and
with
rolling around
with his mistress there,
and rolling around.
Rolling around.
Insane. When she's going through the scrapbook, I'm just looking for clarification. That article was about her father who had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Okay. There was also a flyer for M. Butterfly in the scrapbook, was there not?
Yeah, I think.
And that's not from the tickets that she just got with Dan.
Yeah.
Got for Dan. So she has this theme. Is she like constantly trying to troll guys with M. Butterfly? Like, if they like M. Butterfly, I'm in. Like, I got him. Like, was there anything? And I'm sorry if I'm. This is all my fault. I just don't remember. Were there any evidence of her murdering other men in her scrapbook?
I don't think so.
No,
because
just Dad.
It reminded me of Misery's scrapbook.
Yes.
At first, I was like, "What is in there?"
Yes.
But no, I don't know. It didn't really kind of focus on anything else.
Okay.
So I don't know.
No, I
Jay,
think
did you
this
see anything?
level of craziness, or if you want, or mental.
She's crazy. It's okay.
Yeah.
She's portrayed as a slasher. We can call her crazy.
Okay. No, anyways, this level is the first time she's gotten to this level, I think.
Okay.
I think whatever it is was wrong with her, was unchecked, and then it escalated with Michael Douglas's character, and just that was it. It was like boiling point.
How many people here have eaten Haagen-Dazs, Doritos, and Oreos all at the same time?
I wrote that down, and I totally wrote that down. I said, check out her snack choice after she finds out she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doritos, Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and Oreos, and then she had also wine.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
White
that's
wine.
My
nice.
whole thing is like I know that she, the guy said congrats, but I don't know if she like had a way to get somebody to think so.
To say
like I
that,
still was
yeah.
doubting she was pregnant.
But did we see an ultrasound though? I'm wondering. I thought this one. Am I losing it, or did I see an ultrasound thing somewhere at her house?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
So
That'd have been
yeah,
early.
I thought that too when I was thinking somebody else could have said that, but I don't know. It just seemed like it was believable when he was talking to his friend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know. I
wouldn't
just
have been-
I just was not letting go of her being the one who would string everybody along and send them down this path just to keep them.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I cut my wrist. Look, I'm
Yeah.
stay for the night.
And-
And by the
and-
way,
and
if
what's-
somebody does that, are you just going to wrap them up and not take her to a hospital?
Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly.
Let me ask a question. I don't know where we are in the discussion here, but there's the scene when she's clicking the light on and off, which is terrifying. Mm-hmm. But that's intersected, and she's looking at the Madame Butterfly tickets, which is an opera, very, very classy, and that's intercut with him bowling with his friends and his family, and they're having like a nice, good old blue collar time bowling, and he's having a grand old time, and we're to assume in that scene, the way I read that is he is completely not thinking about Glenn Close, because that's done in his head. M. Butterfly said no to M. Butterfly. That's it. I'm off the hook. Now I'm gonna go bowl, and I'm gonna completely forget about that. Are we supposed to like be mad at Dan for completely? He has dismissed her from his mind completely. Other scenes where he's trying to have his family time and she's interceding in his life, you can see him trying to hold back the guilt or the fact that he's nervous or the fact that something's bothering him, right? Mm-hmm. When things start to get really heated up. But at that moment, it's like she's gone. Are we supposed to feel bad for Dan at that point or not?
No.
No?
I don't think... no, I think he's...
Are we supposed to feel... No, not bad for Dan. Let me rewind that. Are we supposed to be angry at Dan for completely saying, well, he's moved on and she hasn't?
No. Because she should have known that.
I don't know how I feel. I'm asking you because I don't know how I feel about that scene.
No, I feel like she should have, again, known that from day one. Day one. And no, he shouldn't have went out with her a second day. Like, did we talk about that? Oh, my God. Like, she goes out over there, like, for a second whole day. I mean, and then I don't even remember if they had sex that time, too. I think it was a whole weekend of, like,
I think he was guilted in the second day a little.
He was. A little bit.
Yeah.
Even though he could have said no.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, I think he did. I think she's a master manipulator, and I think he is not as strong as far as, like, resisting those things,
Okay.
Make sure he thinks about rolling in the bed and making it look like he slept there and giving the dog the plate of spaghetti so she wouldn't wonder why he didn't eat it. Like, I don't know. And then the day when she comes, I think it was day 3, when she's calling, and he's like all aggravated, and he storms into his room and slams the door and picks up the phone like he's all aggravated. Well, too bad.
Yeah.
Again, you brought this on yourself. Too bad. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be aggravated because somebody's being a pain in the ass and calling you. Well, too bad. Maybe you should have thought of that. Like.
Yeah. Yeah, because honestly, he's trying to do is not get in trouble, right?
Exactly.
And everything he tries, all the little things he tries to not get in trouble, like you just mentioned, roll around the bed, feed the dog the spaghetti, make it look like he's been home, that sort of thing, and but she keeps trumping that with more and more things. Like all she has to do is say something. All Glenn Close has to do is say something, and that's it. But she keeps stringing him along, so everything he tries is not going to be enough until eventually we, as a viewer, say the only way this is going to end is someone's going to be dead. That's the only way this is going to end, because no one's being normal. He's being punished for not owning up to it, and she's punishing because she's mentally ill.
You can tell she puts acid on the car. She puts that crazy tape in his car or whatever, and then like just the way she's talking to him in that tape, like all I kept thinking, and I'm hoping other people think of this too, and I think Glenn Close needs to know this as well. Roles reversed. Picture that being a guy. Are you going to have sympathy and not call that person a villain? Like she always looked at it like this movie wouldn't go nowadays because people would be too concerned with Glenn Close and wanting to get her some help, and she was never a villain. She was just mentally unstable. Do you care? No, I don't. I don't care whatsoever. When she becomes this dangerous person to this little girl and this poor woman that had nothing to do with any of it, like,
right?
Why would she want to bring that much pain on a little kid like that? And who knows what she could do the next time. She shows up with a knife to obviously kill the wife. I mean, she's nuts, and the little girl's in the room right next door. How does she not even, thank God she didn't. Imagine if she heard the gunshot and decided to get up and walk in there and see Glenn Close slide down the tile wall. talk about, I mean, I don't know. I have no sympathy for her. Maybe a couple times where I feel bad where she's sitting at home crying. I do feel a little bad for her at that, but then when she starts, the more it escalates and the more things that she does, she needs to be taken somewhere else. Like, and then, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think this is. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, you know how like you were talking about guys, if it was a guy. I think this movie was like a pioneer, as far as making a woman the crazy, like, psycho person that everyone fears.
Yeah, because we don't really see that.
I don't think that had really been done, and if it has, I apologize for not thinking about it. But it really, and if it's not the first, it definitely made a huge impact to where a lot of people are like, whoa,
Yeah.
Well, this movie, you don't get Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. So. It may be in the beginning, and I don't know if you want to think about this for a minute. And as you were saying it, even though we know that cutting her wrist was just, and she barely cut it. I mean, looked like it was barely there. To be honest with you, it was hardly bleeding. If she cut it good, she barely cut
spurting blood. It would have been spurting blood.
Right, and it was just barely there. But again, she did that just to see if he would stay, and that was again because he said the Madame Butterfly thing. I don't even think she would have done anything like that if he didn't mention something like that at that time. But maybe if he did tie that up on her wrist and bring her immediately to the emergency room, and she would be immediately put in. I used to do suicide watch when I worked at the hospital. She would be on suicide watch. She would have to go through mental evals. Then maybe at that point, maybe somebody would seriously get her some help, and maybe none of this would have happened. And if that's true, then we wouldn't have had a movie, but still.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you know what, though? To be honest with you, he would have had to club her over the head, I think, to take her to the hospital, because she wouldn't have gone.
Yeah, and I don't think he wanted to take her because he didn't want to be seen with her taking someone. Yeah. Because
you're linked now.
It would have been a lot of exposure. Yeah.
Right.
Even when he went to the police, he was trying to pretend it was someone else that he was talking to.
My friend.
Yeah. Asking for a friend. What happens if your mistress is trying to murder you?
I had sent you. Did you both watch the alternate ending?
I did.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Yeah.
But so you know how you were talking about like that she didn't cut that much. Mm-hmm. She says on the tape on the alternate ending, "I'll cut deeper next time."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. Which is good because as soon as a wife hears that, she's like, "Come on, we're gonna go get Daddy," because she knows.
Yeah, because
that
it's
she did
proof
do
that she would kill herself.
And whatever. Yeah, exactly.
But crazy. It was an interesting alternate ending. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
I think the alternate ending is less like a horror movie ending.
Yeah, it's less dramatic.
What we got is Friday the 13th. Is a stalker.
Yeah.
Almost supernatural. Mm-hmm. Gets in the house. Don't know how she got in the house. Almost supernatural. Almost unkillable. So to me, it's actually kind of it's the whole movie's sort of unrealistic in that regard, but then had to have an almost supernatural element at the end. I'm not saying it is, but it's hinting
but you know what?
She could be anywhere, and then she's there. Yep.
That makes people walk out of the theater holding their hand over their mouths.
Yeah.
Talking about it in the parking lot on the way home and to each other, and saying, "Dude, go to this theater, and it's crazy.
Sure.
Go see it."
And honestly, I think, and for people who are listening to us do this and wait till the trivia, because I'd say what the alternate ending, is, because we haven't really talked about exactly what it is that much.
Sure.
I have stuff on that. But I think that if it would have had that ending, it would have just been a movie that would have probably have been honestly forgotten. And it wouldn't have been as big as it is now. It needed that ending. It would have just kind of been almost like the movie. I love this movie, and it's Michael Keaton as a bad guy, and it's
Pacific Heights.
Internal Affairs.
Thank you. Pacific
Heights.
Pacific Heights, and I love that movie, and I think it was done really well. I would love to do it. If you want to, I would love to do it. But I think that people have completely forgotten about that movie. It was just kind of a movie that you watched. It was completely forgotten about. It was really good. I think if it didn't have this alternate ending, it never would have been as big as it is now.
Sure.
Well,
you can make that argument. You can make that
let's
argument.
get to TMI and we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Okay.
It's time for TMI with Melanie.
Listen to this. I am in the bathroom right before the movie
We'll do it
starts.
later.
And I'm in the stall, and there's no toilet paper.
Mine are at home in a display case above my bed.
TMI, my friends.
TMI? Too much
Say
information.
don't go there, but that's lame.
Now, here's Melanie with your timeless movie info.
All right, Melanie, slay us.
I was waiting to see what you were going to say. All right. Budget of $14 million. And it was the highest grossing film of 1987 worldwide. It grossed $320,145,693. That's huge.
A lot of money.
Especially in 1987.
Yeah. And for only a budget of $14 million.
You
All
say
right.
that was the number one movie of 87?
Yeah. Highest grossing.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
That's saying
So
something.
I'm not even. When I was reading the trivia, it was like, this person was considered for Glenn Close. This person was. And it basically, I get down to the end, it says nearly 100 actresses were considered to play Alex. So obviously, I'm not going to even bother to mention them. Except for I will mention one that was considered, which will just blow your mind, was Elizabeth Shue.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I think she would have been cute doing it, because she was
And
young.
that's the problem. She would have been cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Glenn Close, she can scream.
She did good.
Like
She
in
did
a
really good.
very menacing manner. Her hair, I'm sure they made it like that to become a lot more.
No,
like,
she
menacing
actually
as well.
mentioned that. She mentioned her hair. She said she didn't know how to do it, and they weren't sure how to do it, and she said, "Screw it, let's just let it go crazy."
Yeah,
So-
it really made you
but-
freak out a little.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And I will say this. And I forgot to say this, but when we were watching them fight together, Glenn Close and Michael Douglas in the house, when he goes after the wife was in an accident, and he goes to walk away, and he does leave the knife on the counter that he took away from her, which is important for the later ending, because he had taken the knife away from her that she went after him with, and he picked it up and put it on this counter. Did you see her weird smile as she's just sitting on the floor? That creepy smile. Oh, anyway. So,
By the way, one other
Elizabeth
thing
Shue-
too,
Oh, go.
real quick. It's that scene or the bathroom scene. I think it might have been that scene. It was pretty cool when he's choking the camera, like he's basically choking her.
Oh,
But,
yeah,
his
yeah.
his face is all like evil, like almost like
No, I
he's
think
like
that
he's
was the
had it.
fighting scene. I think, right? Or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Was
so.
it?
And
Okay.
then he gave up. But
Yeah.
his face was really, really great. You know, like it just like
Well, he
the
looked
way
like he was going to
like
have a
all
stroke
like,
himself or something. Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
Elizabeth Shue actually was forced to turn down the role because she was signed to the Disney movie Adventures in Babysitting in 1987. So
Good
I did
return.
have to mention that because I thought that was crazy.
That's fun.
Yeah. Now, Glenn Close still has a knife that she used in the movie hanging in her kitchen. And she states that it's beautiful. It's made of wood and paper. It's a work of art. She said, and it's nice for our guests to see it. It lets them know that they cannot stay forever. I thought that was cute.
Oh my gay. All right then.
Yeah.
I come dinner at the Closes anytime soon.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
I would love to go to dinner at her house.
All
That
right.
would be fun. All right. Michael Douglas was also working on a film, Wall Street, in 1987 at the same time that this film was being filmed. To avoid a schedule conflict, Michael would work alternate between each film during the week. And I remember hearing this about Michael J. Fox because he was doing like Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, and Family Ties at the same time, I think. And that's when he started noticing his shaking, and I thought maybe he did too much.
I know he would sleep in like the car or something like that. Yeah, like-
He did. He slept in cars. Yeah. Okay. So when you guys were talking about this, this is horrible. To get the reaction from Ellen in the scene where she saw her parents having an argument, those tears were real. This poor little kid, what he did to her. Michael Douglas was behind the camera threatening to take away the stuffed unicorn that she was holding. And he was saying, look at that stupid unicorn. I'm going to throw it in the garbage, which is why she began crying and she kept hugging it tighter. And then it says, after the director yelled cut, he immediately apologized to her. And he said, I was only kidding. And he hugged her.
Wow.
And then in an interview years later, he said, I felt pretty guilty, but you got to do what you got to do.
I heard in a Wes Craven
guys want to hear
movie.
something? Huh?
Go ahead. I heard in a Wes Craven movie.
Holy shit! We did.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on a second. Wes Craven movie. He had a child actor. He needed to cry, and he didn't know how to do it. And the child's father was there. He says, "I can do it, Wes, if you let me." And he said, "Okay." And the dad goes up to his kid and goes, "Your mom's dead."
I heard that.
Wow.
I literally heard that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, what? Okay, go ahead.
Isn't that horrible?
That's horrible.
Drew Barrymore had just heard a story about some animals getting burned, and it really upset her. And I think it was Wes Craven, because he was directing Scream.
Yeah.
And he would say right before the scene, because he wanted her to get nuts, he'd go, "I'm getting out the lighter." Or something like that, just to piss her off, to get her to that, hysteria, because she was getting really upset.
Wow.
Oh, my God. What they'll do to get the reaction out of people. That's so sad for that little girl.
Yeah,
and then if they did that to her then, what did they do to her when she was laying in the bed crying about the boiled bunny? Because she was almost hyperventilating when she was crying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that poor little kid. I wonder what they said to her at that point. This poor kid.
We burned the unicorn. They showed the unicorn.
No, you know what though? I would hope, because they never say, I would hope that they would spare her, that the rabbit was in the pot.
Yeah.
You can just say it ran away, it escaped somehow. And you're sad about that. I'd rather that than a poor kid learned about a rabbit in a pot.
Right.
I wonder though, because her tears looked real. I mean, they really.
No, I get it. It's just they didn't tell you. So
right. That would have been nice to know.
My personal self, I said no. They spared her. She just upset that it's gone.
I hope so, but she looked like.
I refuse to think that she was told that the rabbit was in a boiling pot of water.
Yeah. Well, I do have something on that bunny actually. But I'll say that in a minute. Okay, so where was I? Oh, during the reshoot of the ending, Glenn Close suffered a concussion during one of the takes when her head was smashed against a mirror. This is crazy. Listen to this. After being rushed to the hospital, she discovered, to much of her horror, that she was actually a few weeks pregnant. So she actually really was pregnant with her daughter. And Annie Stark. Close also developed an eye and ear infection from being dunked repeatedly in the bathtub in the water for hours. It took them hours to do that shot. Mm-hmm. And to this day, Close said that watching the end makes her so uncomfortable because of how much she unknowingly put her unborn daughter at risk from the physically demanding shoot.
Oh, good point.
So, I know, right?
Well, it's like the girl from Friday the 13th Part 4 that gets hypothermia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the lake.
I can't believe they kept making her go in there. And it's just crazy to think that one shoot can take. We take that for granted because we watch it and the shoot lasts for I don't know, 5 minutes, but it takes them hours and weeks or whatever to make one small thing.
Kubrick is notorious for that. It would 5 minutes takes a week and a half. That's ridiculous.
Crazy. Who was?
Yep. Kubrick. Oh. Stanley Kubrick.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. When Glenn Close's agent first called to express her interest in playing Alex, he was told, "Please do not make her come in here. She's completely wrong for the part." He said that they also thought of her as the last person on earth who would ever play Alex up to this point in her career, because she had always played warm, fuzzy Earth Mother women.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But she really wanted it because she was they didn't think I could be sexy. I showed them, Let's see. Glenn Close is allergic to tobacco, so for the few scenes where she's smoking in the film, the cigarettes were fake. The original ending had Alex committing suicide while dressed in white, and Dan being arrested for her murder. It was changed when the preview audiences felt that Alex was not brought to justice. The ending still appears in the Japanese release. The decision to reshoot the ending had mixed reactions from the cast and crew. Director Adrian Lin initially disliked the idea, but agreed to it after a Paramount executive offered him $1.5 million to do it. They felt sympathy for Alex, a woman battling mental illness, and had fiercely resisted clinches about other female psychos. Michael Douglas, on the other hand, had no objection to it and felt that the reworked ending would help the movie. Glenn Close and Michael Douglas got into arguments over the ending, after which time Close contacted her friend William Hurt, who finally convinced her to participate in the reshoot. And again, their whole reason, that they had mentioned in the alternate ending was, let's see if the fingerprints match the knife, because when they had gotten into the fight earlier, and he took the knife away from her, he puts it on the counter, his fingerprints are on it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I wouldn't have liked it either. I did watch it, and at the very ending, he's going to get off anyway. It sounded like when I was reading the trivia that he's going to go to jail even though he didn't do it, and that's just the end of it. But after I watched what you sent me, Jay, the very ending looks like, he's going to get off anyway, because she found evidence to prove, that she was listening to the tape and seeing that she did cut herself previously before. Yeah. And that she even said that if you leave me, I don't know what I'll do. You know what I mean? It's going to be bad though, So, no, I wouldn't have liked that either. Apparently all the people that watched it, they wanted her for them to get revenge on her. And that was, she did, and that's what I would have wanted to. After seeing both of them, no, I like the way they reshot it. So I'm glad that they did.
Yeah.
Let's see. Alex's treatment of the pet rabbit has given rise to the commonly used expression bunny boiler in the UK, used to describe an obsessive woman with a potential to stalk casual acquaintances or one-night stands.
Nice.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
That lady right there, she's a bunny boiler.
Bunny boiler.
That's funny. Don't go near her. Yeah.
Here's a bunny boiler.
Let's see.
Like every girl's dream is to be referred to as a bunny boiler.
Yeah, the bunny boiler, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the dead rabbit was actually real, you guys. So I've been dying to tell you that.
What?
Yeah,
oh, no.
It was real. It was from a local butcher.
Okay.
And it was before it was skinned for consumption.
Okay.
And so Ann Archer's grim reaction when approaching the stove was in part due to the boiling water, because the carcass smelled so bad.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, pretty gross. That's why when the kid was crying so much, I would hope to God that she just didn't even if they said to her, I don't think they would have done this, but I'm saying even if they said to her, oh, well, this is food, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. For her to see a dead bunny after she was playing with a dead bunny, I'm hoping that they never did anything like that to her, but those tears look pretty real.
The world's worst craft service at a movie ever.
Yeah.
Yes, we have liver pate, and we've got boiled Hassenpfeffer. We have boiled bunny for everybody. Hope you don't mind.
And who eats that? I think that's just... Who eats that? I don't know.
You roast bunny. You don't boil it.
Like, who eats that?
You roast it.
What, when you're out in the wild and you're naked and afraid and you have nothing else to eat? I mean, why in the world would you eat a bunny? I don't know. I don't get that.
Well, I mean, it's the same as duck. I mean, I don't want to eat a duck, but it's an edible thing. Just a mammal.
I guess. I mean, like, I eat chicken and I feel horrible for the chickens and I don't want to eat
well,
the chicken.
If chickens were cute, you wouldn't eat the chickens, right?
Chickens are cute and they're smart. I don't know.
I had
smart.
I
feel bad.
I owned chickens
they
before. They were
awesome.
awesome.
Chicken truck.
Okay, all right.
I had chickens before and I loved them.
Chicken pets, yeah.
Okay.
And my grandfather had them as pets, and they'll follow you around like your little pet. I mean, anyway.
The only thing I hated was winter and having to shovel a path to go deal with them.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I got 3 feet of snow. I got to go get to the chickens. Yeah. Make sure they're not starving.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
So,
will that be all?
Oh, and this is funny. In the Chinese Zodiac 1987, it was the year of the rabbit.
Funny.
Oh, my.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah. According to Glenn Close, people still come up to her and tell her, thanks, you saved my marriage. Because they didn't, cheat on their wives after watching this.
Okay.
And also she claimed for years after the movie she was invited to speak at psychological seminars.
Okay.
That's it.
A fake person has somehow sage advice about what to deal with mental illness. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready. I got to tell you
go.
if this thing holds up. I can't wait.
It's time now for final judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the final judgment.
Well, Chris, you are champing at the bit.
Here's the thing. All right, so does this movie hold up, right? So does it stand the test of time? Yes and no. I hate doing the yes and no, but I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, because it's directed the way it is, you still feel the tension. If you've never seen it before, by the end of the movie, you're definitely going to be scared. You're definitely going to feel what's being portrayed on screen. So for that reason, it is still a scary movie. Is it a horror movie? No, it's a psychological thriller, even though it ends up on these horror movie lists. However, does it hold up? For another reason, I'm going to say no, and I'm going to go a two-pronger. One, this is one of those movies that is not possible if cell phones exist. That husband does not talk to that wife for days, and she calls him on the phone. This isn't a time when you couldn't be reached unless you were home on the phone.
True, yeah.
And he disappears for days, and she's like, where have you been? Oh, I had a meeting, and you have to believe it.
Yeah.
So once you introduce the cell phone, it's over. Second thing is, so that's just from a logistics standpoint. And the other part is that this is a spate of movie where it's a conservative movie. It is the person that screws around gets punished. It's Friday the 13th. The promiscuous ones die or get punished because they deserve it. I'm not saying that Michael Douglas doesn't deserve it. But here we have a movie that, again, from a more conservative era, where if you strayed outside the nuclear family, you would be punished. And here we see it. If they did this movie nowadays, there would be more elements of sympathy. There'd be more elements of let's try to understand where Glenn Close is coming from. There'd be, well, why is Dan acting the way he is? Rather than Dan made a mistake, he will be punished. And that is an 80s trope that does not exist now. People are not punished for their bad decisions. We explore their bad decisions nowadays. Why did they do this? Where in the 80s, we didn't care. It was a more conservative era. And those that strayed outside the nuclear family, or those that had sex before marriage, or XYZ, insert sin here, you were punished. And so for that reason, it doesn't hold up, because that style of movie just, I don't think, exists the way it did. So there you go. Next.
So you're saying if it doesn't hold up if it was remade today, or if it came out just like it is today?
If it came out just like it, they're not going to make a movie like this today, because this style of movie, this genre of punishing those that act sinfully doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think I'm going to say about the whole cell phone thing that you said, it's not over because of the cell phone, because picture what he would do. He called her, he called his wife from Glenn Close's apartment.
Right.
Like there's no caller ID or anything. So,
right.
But it doesn't matter, because if she didn't have the Find Your Phone app on her phone, or the 360 or whatever, he would have done. He just would have called her, or answered her phone from the kitchen. Glenn Close would probably be making spaghetti, and he would have been like, "Hold on a second, don't talk." And then he would have just talked to his wife just to get her off. So he could have been like, "Yeah, I really can't talk right now. I'm at a meeting right now at a client's house." So I don't think it would have mattered about the cell phone, because he would have been in the other room and he would have been quiet anyway, because he's this skeezing asshole. So I think he's
fair enough.
at it with the phone.
I can dig it. Yeah. That's fine. So does it hold up though?
To me, I think it does, because it's kind of like real, and it's not like it happened, but like it could happen, just because, it's a husband cheating on a wife, and I think that like women can put themselves in that situation if their husband ever cheated on them, or a guy could put themselves in a situation if maybe they were thinking possibly about cheating, or at one point in time, or like just kind of flirting with somebody or whatever. Like, I feel like you could always kind of, when you're watching it, you can still put yourself in like the wife's situation or the husband's situation or this person's situation, because they're real people dealing with like real life things that could really happen. So I kind of feel like it would hold up because of that. And it seemed like a little grainy at times, because the filming just looked older, but I kind of just feel like, I don't know, if they put it in the movie theater today and people had never seen it before, if they went to go see it, I think they would feel like we did. Even though we've seen it a bunch of times, we were all like you said, tense. It's like a tense thing that you're watching.
It's very tense. Yep.
And it's uncomfortable the whole time, because it makes you uncomfortable the whole time. So I think that like it would still be a big hit, if somebody had gone to the movies to see it in a theater that had never seen it before. I don't really think there's that much that would need to change. Again, like you said, why? We do have to know why. There's always a background now that there wasn't back then. So maybe they would have to add some more of a background history on her.
Sure.
Do I feel bad for her? No, I don't. And I wouldn't feel bad for a guy, like I said, if this was in a reverse role position, because I am constantly watching true crime, and she's a nut, and she deserves what she gets. And I don't care if anyone hates me for that. But if this was a guy stalking a girl and eventually she ended up dead, then people would be like devastated that this person got killed. I mean, she was out there to kill the wife, for God's sakes. Like, the wife didn't do anything. Like, it's not like she was after Michael to kill him. She was there to kill her.
Right.
She snuck around him and went to go kill the wife.
Because the point is, like, you're stopping me from being with him because you're here playing wifey.
She's dangerous. Do we care if she's mentally ill? No, she's dangerous, and she's going to be a murderer. So I don't care. I don't. She's a murderer.
I'm with you.
She's attempted murderer.
Right.
Jason?
Well, she's a rabbit murderer.
That's right. Yeah. She's a rabbit murderer.
Definitely.
And a little girl devastator person. And a kidnapper.
Yeah.
Right.
Of kids.
With an amusement park ride.
Yeah.
Okay, so does it hold up? Yeah, it holds up because people, I think, the tension is real and thorough. Like, it just stays, like I said, throughout the whole movie. So, that, like, I didn't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, you could watch a movie back in the day and go, wow, I was really freaked throughout most of this. And then you watch it today and you're like, I wasn't phased at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you thought you were going to be, So, yes, I was, like, nervous the entire time. I felt like, all these crazy emotions. So I can't see why anybody who would watch it wouldn't feel the same. It does feel very dated as far as, like cars and stuff like that. So, like, you can't help but, but I'm not saying that gets in the way of the story. So I'm just going to end it there and say, yes, it holds up.
All right.
So, all right. And
I said yes. I just don't think they make this style of movie anymore.
I get what you're saying.
No, you're right.
With a soft yes.
It's a soft yes.
Yeah, I get it.
So, well, there's our show, everybody. Hope you enjoyed Fatal Attraction. Well, I'd like to thank Steve Lavoie for our vocal imaging and Draco and the Malfoys for our theme music. And on behalf of Melanie and Chris, I'd like to thank you for listening to our show. And until next time, movies may not age like fine wine, but we drink it anyway.